Hi, folks. My name is Girish Bali, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week for season 3. Today, we're going to speak with Amanda Barrientos, and we're going to find out who she is and what is she all about. Her company name is NFA Money. Well, we're going to find out what that NFA stands for and why does she choose that name. It's a really cool name when you get to the show. But I'll tell you one thing. She has a great personality. She has an understanding of when it comes to money and the mindset of money. We have talked about many episodes regarding money of how to spend and how to not to spend. But there's a different way to do it, and she has a really different program that she usually goes through. So let's talk to her, get to know her better, and let's see who she is and why she is and what she's all about. So let's speak with Dr. Amanda Barrientos. Let's talk to her. Hi, folks. My name is Girish Bali, your host for Back to Basics. As I said earlier on the introduction, thank you again for coming on to Back to Basics. Today, as I said, we're going to have a really amazing time with our guest, and we're going to talk about money. And yes, the words that I mentioned on the intro, that is exactly what we're going to be doing, talking about effing money. So let's go and talk to Amanda. Let's talk to her and understand who she is and what is she all about. And before we do that, I want everyone to connect with me on Instagram and everywhere else because you know what? It makes me stronger day by day with your love and support. So let's bring in the guest. Let's talk to her and let's have a chat with her. Amanda, how are you? Thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
Hey there, Girish. Awesome. Doing great. Happy to be
Thank,
here.
thank you so much for coming, Amanda. You know, I've spoken to her, to you for weeks before, and finally you're here on season 3. So thank you again for coming on the show. So before
Absolutely.
we talk about all the effing money part, and we're going to get to the details of that, what does Back to Basics mean to you?
I love that question. It made me think of just the word simplify,
Mm,
like getting back to the simplest version of, I would say, success.
mm,
Like we think we overcomplicate things. So when we get back to basics, it's about simplifying and
mm,
distilling down to the simplest things possible. And in terms of money, it's simplifying to make the easiest money possible with the paths of least resistance, money that feels good, money that's flowing, money that is fun to make,
mm.
those kind of things.
Yeah, thank you again, Amanda, for coming on the show, or I should say, Doctor Amanda. So before we talk about the money and everything else, how did you come up with the name No Effing Money? So can you explain that, please?
Yeah, so it's NFA, no effing around money. And it actually story. When I was in school, I wanted to be on a volleyball rec team and it was an adult league. And so I was like, Dad, you be the adult and I'll invite all my friends because the rule was you just needed one adult and we'll name our team NFA. And we'll, of course, win the tournament because it's going to be a whole bunch of kids playing against adults. Of course, we won the tournament. And ever since then, I've called all my teams Team NFA. I've done a lot of athletic stuff for sports. And so one day I was coaching this guy and he said, Man, you're really good at what you do. You're like my tough love dad, but you're also really soft. And I said, Well, I'm not effing around about helping you. I really care.
Mm,
And I decided to name my packages NFA Transformation. And I
mm,
put this on my Instagram feed. And this woman reached out and she said, I'm really impressed by your story of I've gone from food stamps to 6 figures and I help people with this NFA transformation. She
mm.
invited me on her podcast and she said, You really need to brand your company that name. And I was like, that would be crazy. I stayed up all night. I didn't sleep the whole night thinking, am I going to really rebrand my company as NFA Money
Mm.
or, use NFA? And I didn't sleep. I got out of bed in the morning and I'm like, I'm doing it. So I went for it. So that's where NFA Money comes from.
Yeah. Thank you again for explaining that, and thank you again for creating that monster of what you have done. Because I've seen your work, and I've seen all the YouTubes and the interviews and everything else that you do. Amazing work, Amanda. Thank you again for that. But do you regret by creating this monster? Because it is a catchy name, but it's also, what is it? Insulting name also at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
No, zero regrets. It actually it broadcasts to the right people. The people who are offended by it just go away. I get it. I'd say, maybe once every 3 months, I get like a hate email or a DM from someone on Instagram or LinkedIn that says, "How dare you use this word in your name?" And I just reply with a really nice message and say, "Hey, if it offends you, that's okay. I hope you have a great day." You're obviously we wouldn't work well together.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you again for that. So, so tell me the three main things that people they come to you for, let's say, money issues or no effing around issues. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like to really highlight for everyone listening or watching that I want you to think right now. It doesn't matter almost even what time of day it is that you're watching this. How many times today have you already thought about money?
Hmm.
For most people, it's several times a day we think about money. For some people, it's hundreds of times a day.
Hmm.
Money can cause so much for us, and it's so emotionally tied to everything that we do. It affects our relationship with ourselves, it affects our businesses, it affects our marriages, our parenting, the way we travel, the way we experience the world. And it brings up almost every single emotion you can think of. When you think about money and you experience it, you can have fear and doubt and guilt, uncertainty, embarrassment, shame, all the way to elation, infatuation, excitement,
Hmm.
greed, jealousy. I mean, I could list pretty much every single emotion and
Hmm.
we can tie it to money. And
Hmm.
so I love working with people on money because every single person experiences what I call money blocks.
Hmm.
And this is where you have unconscious competing commitments with money. So I came up with this term competing commitments after I got to work with a lot of different types of entrepreneurs and kept seeing patterns over and over again where they'd say they want one thing, but they'd be getting a different result.
Hmm.
And so what I found out was that I was like, what's going on here? Why are people so stuck? And I started to realize that it's because we have unconscious beliefs that make up 95% of us. So 95% of us is run by our unconscious, 5% of us by our conscious, and those battle against each other. So I'll give you a really easy example. Someone could say, "Hey, I'm ready to build a 6 or 7 figure business and scale and feel really good and love what I do in the world." And they can consciously think that that's what they want. But if they then believe at the same time, "I'm not good enough, I don't know what I'm doing. If I make too much money, maybe the responsibility will be too much. Maybe people will think I'm a greedy jerk if I make too much money." And they have all of these unconscious beliefs that are holding them back. So in these money blocks, it's easy for me to start to detect how to help people break through those unconscious beliefs about money and then start to have easier success.
Hmm. Yeah, Amanda, thank you again for explaining that. But is too much money a problem? I think too much money should be a good thing because then you don't have to stress that you have no money. Or am I thinking wrong? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends, right? If you're afraid that too much money is a problem, then it will be a problem for you.
Sure.
Right? So it's your belief about money. So some people are good at attracting money, but then they get a lot of money and they freak out and self-sabotage. We could use an example of lottery winners where they get let's say $10 million, and they end up worse off than they were before they got the money. And that's
Mm,
because they have unconscious belief systems that are keeping them stuck. So
mm,
some people can make millions, billions of dollars and manage it really well. And
mm,
some people have a really hard time with it because they have unconscious beliefs about it. So they're
mm,
afraid that if they get too wealthy, other people will see them in a negative light. This is called wealth shame. I don't know if you've heard the term wealth shame, but
mm,
when people hide the amount of money that they have and they feel shame about the amount of money they have, it could be a trust funder sometimes will feel afraid that people will judge them for having too much money and that they didn't work hard for it, is an
mm,
example of that. So it's never about the amount of money, it's about the way you feel about the amount of money you have.
Yeah, thank you again for that. When we uh, have parties or get-togethers or even just dinners with friends for that, even the basic thing is that, right? people, they stress out that, you know what, I should spend only 100, 200, $60, $50, and I shall not go beyond that, right? Do you think we should stress about that? I guess we should, because we're in a budget every week or every month, depending on that. Or should we just splurge on it every couple of months? What are your thoughts on that?
It depends. It depends on you and your money habits. Some people who are really scared. So there's a money block. The three main money blocks are money is bad, money is scarce, and money causes stress. So let's say you're a money is scarce person and you have a 7-figure business and you have a lot of money rolling in, you have savings, you have investments, you have money flowing, but you feel really afraid that there's never going to be enough. And so when you go out to dinner, you freak out about spending too much. That person would actually benefit from freeing themselves up a little bit and spending more money on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Take someone else who is an overspender. They're maxed out on their debt. They don't have a good flow of money coming in. They don't have savings and investments, but then they go out to dinner and they feel embarrassed that they're not going to look good if they don't spend enough money. So they spend the money. Different situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's never, very rarely is there, a one size fits all solution for all people, because we all have different money blocks and that are unconsciously running our show.
Yeah. You bring up a great point, Amanda. Like, there is an example that I make a lot of money than you, or you make more money than me. So you and we're going to be looking down on each other. That's just how people think. And me, a person who's not making too much money, I'll be like, wow, Amanda is so up there. I don't know if I can make it. What are your thoughts on that part? I mean, should we think that way, or should we say, what do you do different than I can be in your shoes? You think that's the attitude I should have?
Well, what you're really talking about is a huge issue that most people have is negative self-comparison. And so
Mm,
you get stuck thinking you're not as good as other people. And
mm,
there's always going to be somebody else who is ahead of you. So the way that you perceive that is going to either empower you or disempower you. Mark Twain said, the comparison is the death of joy.
mm,
Comparison is the death of joy. So if I'm always comparing myself to somebody else who is ahead of me, I'm always going to feel behind and I'm always going to feel less than, which causes scarcity, which actually pushes money away from you, because you're not as magnetic to money when you feel doubt and fear and embarrassment and shame about yourself.
mm,
Right. And so
mm,
you really, I would say for people struggling with self comparison and negative self comparison, that's something to work on. You got to build your confidence and own your power, exactly who you are and where you are right now, because
mm,
wealth is attracted to your energy and your
mm,
emotions and your beliefs about money. So if
mm,
you're constantly feeling in a negative state by looking at other people and thinking that they're better than you, you're
mm,
actually causing it to be harder to make money.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, Amanda, thank you again for that. And I totally agree on what you're saying, because I think it's all in your mind of how you want to I guess perceive yourself, and viewing from the other angle. So thank you again for explaining that. So let me ask you this in a funny way. If you won a lottery, what would you do? Would you pay all your debts off and then invest on yourself? Or would you just invest everything and just let the debt be the way it is, because that's your everyday life?
I would base it on percentages and numbers. It would depend on whether I could capitalize on the let's say you made a certain amount of money and it's more beneficial for you to invest that money than to pay off the debt, then that's what I would do. So,
Mm,
people get freaked out about debt. I don't know almost any wealthy people who don't have debt. It's the
mm,
way they perceive the debt. Is the debt making them more money than losing the money on the interest?
mm,
Right. And so it's wealth building strategies that you want to keep in mind. It's not a one size fits all. I get the money, I pay it off, and then I invest. That might not be your smartest move. So
mm,
it's you thinking through it without charges, like emotional charges around the debt. Most people are pretty freaked out about being in debt and it causes them issues. But wealthy people leverage money.
mm. Yeah, thank you again. But the thing is that when we have debts, and when we have loans, and when we have credit card loans, and all the loans in the world that you can think of, right? There's always going to be interest. That interest actually kills you, because then
Not,
you pay more to the company versus your principal of the balance.
not
So
necessarily, because what if you borrowed money and it was 5% interest, but you could invest that money and it made you 10%? You're actually making 5% on that debt.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
it's not always true.
Yeah, thank you again for explaining that, because that is an ongoing thing. And you're right. I think we should invest in something which doubles or triples. Then you already made extra money. You can use that money to pay your loan off, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thought
Yep.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you again for that. What are the three main tips do you offer to people to take a look at? I mean, do we spoof off the taxes? Do we spoof off the loan? Do we I don't know, if you want to buy a car, instead of buying a car in lease, well, not in lease, but in finance, do we take a loan against the mortgage? I mean, what are your tips and bits? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. I don't generally do that type of financial advising with people. I have great resources to send people to financial advisors where I
Mm,
recommend people they educate themselves. Like, so for me, I went from food stamps to building a six-figure business and investing really wisely. So I started to learn everything I could about investing, about, amplifying and accelerating my net worth and building it over time. And so mostly I work with people much more on their mindset around money than I do on the actual tactical,
mm.
practical strategies. So of course I know how to do that, but it's not what people come to me for.
Yeah, thank you again for explaining what you do and what you
Yeah.
don't do, because I want people to understand that you can connect with Amanda about all the money stuff, but when it comes to, if I can do this, can I do this? And that's not what she's doing. I mean, she's doing other things. So thank you again for that. Now, if I don't have enough investment money to start a business or whatever and get a six figure or a seven figure or whatever it is, right? Then it brings me down that I don't think I can go anywhere, and then I won't be able to live. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I've heard stories that I only have $500 in my pocket and I use that towards my business, and now I have a multi-million dollar company. So, what are your thoughts on that part?
Well, are you asking that you just said gave two contradictory stories? So one,
Yeah,
you're saying if you don't have a lot of money, should you invest in your business? And then you're saying someone invested 500 and then made a whole bunch of money.
part one and part two.
Okay. So let's, I like to help people be strategic.
Mm,
Part of the gift of me starting my business when I was on food stamps was that I didn't have a lot of money to invest in my business. So I bootstrapped and I did, like sweat equity. I worked, I built my website myself, I networked, I talked to people, and I had very low cost in to my
mm,
business and got
mm,
high payout. And
mm,
so I had a high ROI. And so, depending on where people are starting from, based on what their savings is, let's say someone wants to transition out of being in a CEO level position and they want to replace a six-figure income. I'm going to help them transition out. They're not just going to take the leap necessarily and go, hey, overnight, I'm going to create a six-figure business, because it doesn't work that way if you've never built a
mm,
business before. And
mm,
so, having a transitional plan is wise. We want to respect money, right? Money is a relationship. And so
mm,
if you don't have an attitude of responsibility and respect and love toward money, you're going to use it in ways that aren't wise. And always remember, what you appreciate appreciates. And so if you appreciate your money and you treat it with respect and care, it's going to grow. And so you want to use strategy around it. It's not just a pie in the sky thing that says like, hey, I put the money in and I hope that the money comes out. You
mm.
know, you want to use some strategy in building a business. So if you only have $500 in the bank and that's all the money you have, I wouldn't recommend putting it into a business if you're brand new and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again for explaining that. You know, people need to understand that a mindset, it needs to be there to entrepreneurship, making money, losing money, or take your talent out and saying that you need to do this, right? And people will see you with your talent. Am I right on that, Amanda?
Definitely, but it takes time for people to see that, right? Like anytime you're building a business, it's going to take time to build what, in coaching world, we would call it an expert platform. That
Mm.
takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And so I
No.
think a lot of people step into entrepreneurship with unrealistic expectations and they
Mm,
think that it's going to happen a lot faster than it is. Now, I like to help people scale as fast as they can, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. So you've
mm,
got to either have a cushion of savings as you're building, or you've got to have a way to make money very quickly and know what you're doing, which typically isn't the case for newer entrepreneurs. If they've never built a business, it takes some time to learn. There's always a learning curve with doing new things.
Thank you again for explaining that, Amanda. You know, there's a new segment that we started on season 3, so it's a rapid fire.
Ooh, all right.
Right. So there are some few questions, or I should say, few words, and I want you to tell me that what does it mean to you when we hear these words, and or even numbers, because that there'll be a number in there too. Uh, the number is 95%. What does that mean to you?
Well, I instantly think of, we live our lives by 95% unconscious habits and programming. So that's what comes to mind when I hear the word 95%.
Okay, and unconscious.
Yeah.
No, that's
What comes to mind when I hear the word unconscious?
yeah.
My favorite quote by Carl Jung, who says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate."
Awesome. Thank you. Money.
Let's have fun making money.
Too much money.
There's no such thing if you know how to manage it well.
Lottery.
If you win the lottery, make sure that you hire a really smart financial advisor.
Awesome. Wealth shame.
Learn strategies to release wealth shame so you can enjoy being wealthy.
Money block.
Money blocks will keep you from breaking through to the levels that you choose to break through in your business and feel good about it. So learn how to break through your money blocks.
Comparison.
Negative self-comparison is the death of joy and causes you to have nonstop imposter syndrome. So learn how to see yourself for who you are and win at your own game.
Wolf pack.
Oh. In business, I tend to be a lone wolf. So I always think of wolves as lone wolves.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Thank you for that. And one last word, entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurship is the greatest gift for making huge impact and huge income. Unlimited potential. That's what entrepreneurship brings.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for that. You know, when we think of money, people nowadays in today's world, they think of digital money, digital crypto and crypto wallet. And, what are your thoughts on the digital footprint that we live in today?
I think it's the wave of the future. I think every single person would benefit from starting to understand and learn how it works.
But if an old time school, like me, who is not into the digital footprint, what would that be like? I mean, for them, I mean, that's a learning curve, isn't it?
Sure, but if you want to stay up with the times and keep making money, I would figure out a way to learn it.
Okay.
Get
Thank you.
over it, get over the mindset blocks around it, because times always change. It's like the internet, right? People were freaked out when the internet was originated, and they went like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And they had resistance to it. And, here we are today with, I don't even know what percentage of people on the internet, but I'd imagine it's close to 100.
Yeah. Thank you again, Amanda, for that. Let me ask you this. Is there a book that you're reading that resonates to you? I mean, it does not have to be with money or entrepreneurship. I mean, we just want to know about Amanda. I mean, what she's reading and what is it all about for you?
Yeah, here, I'll have it right on my desk. I read like 2 books a week, so I read a lot. So here, I'll hold this up. It's a beast. Look, it's 1,000 pages. It's called Mind is the Master, the Complete James Allen Treasury.
Wow.
Yeah, this book, I think it's 20 books in this one book, and it is really good.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to go and get a copy for that for myself.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun if, for people watching, it's like I highlight. Oh, I don't know if you can see, but it's like you see all these pages, all the writing.
Yeah, yeah,
I go crazy writing, and I just like, to me, knowledge in action is power. So if you're not learning and reading something new, or listening to a podcast, watching YouTube, reading something new to nurture your mind every single day, to me,
mm.
that's the quest of life. You've got to get
Yeah,
to know yourself. You've got to love yourself. You've got to grow yourself. And those are when you get to be the highest achiever who feels really good and really develops wealth consciousness. And then money becomes magnetic to you because you resonate at such a high level. You vibrate at such a high level. You resonate with wealth consciousness. So you attract
Mhm.
wealth to you.
Yeah, I want people to understand that if you're watching me on YouTube, you'll see that book. I mean, it's a size of, let's say, the Gone with the Wind. I mean, it's really thick. So thank you again, Amanda, for explaining that. But before you leave today, and it's been a really an awesome pleasure. I can talk to you for hours and hours and hours. But how was your journey on Back to Basics? And do you have any last words for all my Back to Basic listeners and my watchers too?
Ooh, it's been amazing. It's been fun. I like the rapid fire questions. Those are really fun. It keeps you on your toes. It's exciting to be on a podcast where people do different things.
Yeah.
And I want to say, for everyone here listening, the things that I really love to dig into with people are based on this philosophy that I want people to live by. So remember this: your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you don't like what you're getting on the outside, you've got to change what's within. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you don't like what you're getting on the outside, money, you've got to change what's within, mindset. And so you've got to remember that anytime you aren't getting an outer reality that you are excited about, inspired about, feeling aligned with, you got to go within. You've got to choose to stop blaming the world around you. Parents, you could go back to childhood, blame the parents, the teachers, the preachers, the people that were in your life. You could blame your spouse. You could blame COVID. You could blame your boss. You could blame, there's so many things in the world to blame. And when you blame other people, you lose all of your power to change. And so I want everyone here to remember, when you start to look within and you start to change what's within, that's why reading is so important, and listening to podcasts, you will start to see your outer world change. And I know this because when I was on food stamps and feeling really stuck and really victim-minded, and my relationships were falling apart and everything was pretty scary, I started to change within, and then my whole outer world changed. I built a 6-figure business. It grows every year. I work less. I just went to Hawaii to celebrate my anniversary. I have an amazing husband. My life just gets better and better and better. And it's not magic. It's just that I started working on myself.
Amanda, thank you again for coming on the show and telling us tidbits about what you do and what you don't do. And I've learned a lot from you today. But one last fun question for you: what are you going to be planning for Valentine's?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's funny. My husband and I don't do anything for Valentine's Day because we always say, like, every day is Valentine's Day. Like, to me, it's not one of those that we celebrate big time. We just came back from Hawaii, and it was awesome. So we went to 3 islands, and we went hiking and swimming, and we are national parks geeks. So we go to all the national parks, and we just have fun. So we really live our life like every day is Valentine's Day. We connect every single day, and meditate together and exercise and talk and snuggle, and we're really, really close. So, every day is Valentine's Day for me.
Yeah. Thank you again, Amanda, for coming on the show. And I will see you next time on Back to Basics on that, Amanda. Thank you again for coming.
Thanks for having me on.
So, guys, we spoke with Amanda today, and we talked about the basics of money, didn't we? And yes, we did talk about the effing money. Now, there's a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully Amanda will like that quote. And it's a funny question, funny quote. I really don't know. You have to be a judge of that. And the quote is, certain money is not always good money. And that Larry King actually said that in one of the shows back in 2010. So hopefully you'll enjoy that, and hopefully you'll resonate with the quote and the episode today. Now, as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. God bless. And I will see you next time on Back to Basics. Hi, guys. Thank you again for tuning in to Back to Basics and listening to the excellent episode that we had today with our guest. With your love and support, we do need you to at least rate our show, review our show, because it does make us stronger day by day, week by week, as I usually say on my episodes. And there are 3 things in this episode that it makes a hit for me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. So guys, take care, God bless, and remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and see you next time on Back to Basics.